Guys, we have a breaking news coming out. The US Commander-in-Chief wants US military base back in Afghan. Hold on. Okay, so last year, the US commander put out a message and he told the Taliban, he told the group, I want my stuff back. You guys know that Joe, when he left, when he withdrew the military back in, I think it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, he left stuff behind. $100 billion worth of stuff. We talking about brand new tanks, Humvees, and all these equipments. He left that behind. And last year, Donald said that he want those stuff back. I do believe this is the first step right here. Donald wants U.S. base back in Afghan, but he has other plans. He wants those equipments that Joe left behind. He wants it back. All right, so we're going to see what's going on here, guys. This is a big breaking news. And you guys know the Taliban, the groups, they basically in control now. Because, again, Joe kind of allowed him to. But again, we're going to see what's going on here, guys. Before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Thank you again for your support. Your support is what keeps us on air. Another way to support the channel is through Patreon. We go live once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on this platform. It's only $5 a month. All the links in the description box. All right, so what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a good idea? Should we go back to this again? Like I said, Donald said that he wants his stuff back. It belongs to us. It belongs to us. When Joe took everybody out, I mean, those group were flying helicopters. I mean, they were just using our stuff for parades and everything. And Joe left it behind. The U.S. commander said Thursday that the sleeping giant is trying to get back the air base in Afghan more than 4 years after the U.S. military withdrawal at the conclusion of nearly 2 decades long U.S. biblical war in the nation. We are going to keep the base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it for nothing. We are trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. U.S. commander said during a press conference in the UK. We are trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where the Red Dragon make its nuclear weapons. What? No. Okay, I missed that part. They keep updating this article, but hold on. So Donald said we want it back because, the Red Dragon is making their nuclear weapons not too far from that region. Come on, Donald, say it. The reason why you want it back, too, is because they got our stuff. $100 billion worth of stuff. Again, Donald is going to announce it. He's going to announce it. He's going to say, we want our stuff back. Here's the thing, guys. If we get involved in there, it's not the same gov. There's a whole new group out there. And they got our stuff, meaning that they could go to biblical war with us using our equipments. And once again, you could take Mr. Burns. You guys know who Mr. Burns is. Joe, the former leader. That was a code word, Mr. Burns. All right, so the U.S. commander on Thursday suggested that he is working to reestablish a U.S. presence at the air base in Afghan. 4 years. I can't believe it's been 4 years. 4 years after the sleeping giant chaotic withdrawal from the country left the base in the Taliban, hands. They the one are in control. The U.S. commander floated the idea during a press conference with a British Prime Minister Starmer as he wrapped up a state visit to the UK and tied it to the need for the US to counter its top rival, the Red Dragon. "We are trying to get it back," the US commander said of the base in an aside to a question about ending the Bears' invasion of Crane. I know Starmer, I think Starmer, the Prime Minister of UK, he was right next to Donald when Donald was giving this important statement. While Donald described his call for the U.S. military to reestablish a position in Afghan as breaking news, once again, the right leader had previously raised the idea, and the White House did not immediately respond to question about whether it or the Pentagon has done any planning around returning to the sprawling airbase, which was central to America's longest war, basically 20 years. What are your thoughts? Should we get involved again? Should we go and, basically repeat history? But this one here is going to be different. It's not going to be like, biblical war stuff. Donald just want the base to keep an eye on the Red Dragon nuclear building weapons. But on top of that, I do believe there's a lot more to it. Like I said, Donald said that he wants the equipment back. Now, during his last presidency, the U.S. commander set the terms for the U.S. withdrawal by negotiating deal with the Taliban, you know who. The 20-year conflict came to an end in disquieting fashion under Joe. And remember, guys, that event, we will never forget the 13 fallen soldiers. You guys know there were 13 that has fallen. And my condolences and prayer goes out to the families and friends that lost their loved ones. We will never forget that day. It says here the sleeping giant backed Afghan Gov collapsed. A grisly bombing taken 13. There you go. That's the one. I just mentioned that. 13 of the sleeping giant troops and 170 others and thousands of desperate Afghans descended on the airport in search of a way out before the final sleeping giant aircraft departed over the you-know-what. So that day was brutal, man. Again, it was that big U.S. plane, and you had a lot of people in there just trying to get out because, again, here comes the boogeyman, the Taliban, the Gov. And so everybody was holding on to that plane, and, man, that was not good. That was a really bad scene. Everybody was begging. Those out there were begging the U.S. not to leave, and you had a soldier, U.S. soldier, grabbed an infant and stuff. And there was a lot of things that went down that year. It was so bad. It was 13 fallen soldiers and stuff. And you had U.S. restaurants. There were multiple U.S. restaurants that were not pleased. They were not pleased, and it just, they were not happy because of, Americans were not happy because of the fallen ones. It was under Joe. So it says here the Afghan debacle was a major setback just 8 months into Joe presidency that he struggled to recover. And then right after that, the bear invaded Crane. So under Joe, it was nightmare. It just, man. So it says here, Joe, the right detractors, including the U.S. commander, Mr. Donald, seized on it as a signal moment in a failed presidency. Those criticisms have persisted into the present day, including as recently as last week when the U.S. commander claimed the move emboldened the bear leader Vladimir to invade Crane in February of 2022. That he would have never done what he did, except that he didn't respect the leadership of the sleeping giant, the U.S. commander said. Speaking of Putin, they just went through the Afghan total disaster for no reason whatsoever. We were going to leave Afghan, but we were going to leave it with strength and dignity. We were going to keep the air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. You can blame Joe for that. It is unclear if the sleeping giant has any new direct or indirect conversations with the Taliban, gov, about returning to the country. But the U.S. commander hinted that those gov, the Taliban, who have struggled with an economic crisis, international legitimacy, eternal rifts, and rival militant groups since their return to power in 2021, could be game to allow the U.S. military to return. We are trying to get it back because they need things from us. Donald said of the Taliban. Didn't we label them? The T word, terror, what? Didn't we label those Taliban? I don't know, guys. But I think I remember that we labeled them that name. The U.S. commander repeated his view that a sleeping giant presence at Bagram is of value because of its proximity to the Red Dragon, the most significant economic and military competitor to the U.S. But one of the reasons we want that base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where the Red Dragon makes its nuclear weapon, the U.S. commander said. So, a lot of things are happening. While the U.S. and the Taliban, have no formal diplomatic ties, the sides have had, I'm going to skip that name, conversations. An American man who was abducted more than 2 years ago while traveling through Afghan as a tourist was released by the Taliban in March. Last week, the Taliban also said they reached an agreement with U.S. envoys on the exchange of prisoners as part of an effort to normalize relations between the U.S. and Afghan. The Taliban gave no details of a detaining swap. And again, the White House did not comment on the meeting in Kabul or the result described in the Taliban statement. The Taliban released photographs from their talks showing their foreign minister, I'm going to skip their name, with the U.S. Commander Special Envoy for the response. Officials at U.S. Central Command in the Mideast and the Pentagon, including Defense Secretary Pete office, referred questions about reestablishing a presence at Bagram to the White House. Wow. All right, so once again, this is a big breaking news. Even Donald called it breaking news. I mean, wow. Let me just fix this really quick. Once again, the U.S. commander said, I want the air base back. So he's right next to Starmer. So yeah. Once America's largest base in Afghan, now run by the Red Dragon, the U.S. commander fumes, we gave it to them for nothing. He's saying that he wants it back. Once again, the sleeping giant, America wants air base in Afghan back to keep an eye on the Red Dragon nuclear program, says the U.S. commander. So, what are your thoughts on this, guys? You think we're going to get that base back? It's not going to be the same, though. It's not going to be the same. Because, again, they're not just going to let the sleeping giant come in like that. And plus, we do have a lot of stuff there. We left many equipments out there. Just looking for more information here. Give me 1 second, guys. Um, wow, look at this. So he's been planning for this a while back. Insider paper said just then the U.S. commander has been quietly pushing his national security officials for months, to find a way to get the air base in Afghan back from the Taliban. And that was the Three Letters News is reporting that. Hmm. All right. So it seems like this is all the information here. I will try to keep you updated with this shocking breaking news. Uh, Even the commander said it is breaking news, but yeah, this is huge. Like I say, guys, Joe left behind 100, I think $100 billion worth of stuff. Everything brand new. He had multiple Humvees, and when you open the door, you still have the plastic on the side door panels. Even the tire, the rims had their plastic on. Brand new Humvees and armored vehicles, never used. And there was a storage with all these equipments and ammo. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff that Joe left behind. Man, Toyota dealership were going nuts. I'm kidding, guys. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. For those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. Once again, guys, $5 a month Patreon. We get you access to our live stream once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Faith and trust in Jesus Christ, for He's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.